Call the meeting to order. Everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
Welcome, everyone. I am not Dave Duran. Dave was supposed to start the meeting. He got detained in Indianapolis, so he will not make it to the meeting, so I will initiate chairing the meeting this morning. Before we get started, I would like to quickly go around the room and make introductions. So with that, Ty?
I'm Ty Warner, Executive Director with NERC.
Claire Milo, the mayor of the city of LaPorte.
Jim Tunn, Chesterton Town Council.
Bob Schaefer, President, Long Beach Town Council.
Jeff Decker, Dyer Town Council.
Jeff Benson, Beverly Shores, President of the Town Council.
Bob Owen, INDA.
Chris Murphy, Michigan City Common Council.
Dick Ledlow, President, Schneider Town Council.
Eldon Strong, Lake County Council.
Rich Mrozensky, LaPorte County Council.
Lori Reno, Clerk Treasurer, Town of New Chicago.
Michael Griffin, Clerk Treasurer for the Town of Highland.
Joe Stahura, Mayor White.
Tom Schmidt, Sherrill Town Council.
Joe Sanguinetto, Munster Town Council.
Tom Clauser, Town of Ogden James, Councilman.
Stan Govitz, Griffith Town Councilman.
Mary Thornton, Nurse staff.
Dave Decker, LaPorte County Commissioner.
Anthony Copeland, Mayor, City of Chicago.
Don Ensign, President of Beaver Town Council.
Roosevelt Allen, Lake County Commissioner.
I'm sorry. Dave Hollenbeck, Attorney to NERC.
Brian Snedeker, Mayor of the City of Florida.
Angie Hayes, Nurse staff.
Steven Sesteric, Nurse staff.
Gabrielle Punis, Nurse staff.
Sarah Ganeski, Nurse staff.
Scott Weber, Nurse staff.
Jack Eskin, Nurse staff.
Kevin Garcia, the same.
Robert Shaw Hines.
Gary Redmond.
Dave Schaefer, Clerk Treasurer for the Town of Munster.
Bob Carnahan, Cedar Lake Town Council. I was removed by my town council to serve on the NERC board.
Skylar York, City of Michigan City.
Craig Phillips, City of Michigan City.
Renee Jackson, Gary.
David Wright, Gary Public Transportation Corporation.
Alan Hammond, Nurse.
Jim Nowacki, resident of the City of Gary.
Shirley Patrick, Valparaiso. Carol Kosmicki, Valparaiso.
Jody Melton, Executive Director, Kankakee River Basin Commission, and nursing staff.
Steve Strange, NERC staff.
All right, that's everyone. Attorney Hollenbeck, do we have any certification of appointments today?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman. Before I do that, a couple of points of information. We do not have a quorum today for a full commission meeting, and I guess I'll editorialize by saying that isn't because of an absence of an effort to try. There are a number of us that were in Indianapolis pretty late into the evening last night, and they had good intentions of getting up early this morning and joining us so we would have a quorum for a full commission meeting. We're getting reports, Bob, that there are some travel problems in central Indiana this morning by way of some ice and accumulation, and that travel is not prevented, but it's going very slowly. So we've got folks coming up I-65 at 30 miles an hour, and they're not going to make it for our full commission meeting.
It had to happen someplace else sooner or later, didn't it?
Good point. You didn't really care what's going on the rest But in any event, due to conditions beyond the control of some of our members, they're not able to join us, so we do not have a quorum for a full commission. What does that mean? What that means is, and we always notice up an executive board meeting simultaneously with a full commission meeting, we do have a quorum for the executive board meeting. So we're going to proceed this morning as an executive board. And to refresh your recollection, our enabling statute provides that the full commission is to meet quarterly, and in the interim, the executive board runs the business of this commission, with the exception of a couple of things that will become relevant in our agenda this morning. Two things that aren't relevant to our agenda in terms of what the full commission must do is that they, in fact, must approve the budget annually. I always forget the other one.
Hire
And appoint the executive director, that's right. The third thing the full commission must do, which is relevant this morning, is it must elect our officers. The executive board is not statutorily empowered to do that, so we won't be able to do that this morning. I think the game plan is the nominating committee did meet. You do have in your packet a slate of officers that will be presented this morning, but we will not be able to vote on that until we have a full commission meeting. That being said, we can proceed, and the next thing on the agenda is the certification of appointments, and I'll also make the point of clarification that our enabling statute provides that you are a member of this commission until your appointing authority tells us otherwise. We got a series of reappointment letters, which is fine. We welcome you back. And your appointing authority can have any criteria it wants to decide on whether you get reappointed or not, and it's nice that we know that that has been fulfilled and you've been reappointed. But from our legal perspective, we don't need a reappointment letter. We simply need communication from the appointing authority when there's been a change. And there have been some changes, and we have received a couple of the new appointments. And I've looked at those, and they are in proper order under our enabling statute, so we have a couple of new commissioners to welcome. First of all, from the Lake County Council, Eldon Strong has been appointed to the NERC Commission. From the town of New Chicago, Lori Reno has been appointed. Welcome, Lori. From the town of Westville, Ronald Stallings has been appointed to the commission. And from the town of Munster, Joseph Simonetto has been appointed to the commission. And all four of those, Mr. Chairman, are in proper form, and we should welcome them as new members of the commission.
Welcome.
End of my report.
And if I could, just to remind, if you got the notice for those new commissioners, there'll be an orientation right after this meeting in the, what we call the Packer Room, right next door over here.
One thing that I do as just housekeeping, anyone wishing to speak of the committee, please make sure that you give an opportunity for NERC staff to bring a microphone to you. We're going to be moving them around as people talk. So with that said, Commissioner Vincent?
A couple of things to point out. One is that as the executive board, anything that is voted on is by the executive board, not the rest of us commissioners. We don't vote today. That's one point of notice. The other is that Bob Carnahan is still a commissioner, so now you only need 5 more to get your quorum. If you have not received a letter detailing otherwise, even though his town council has removed him.
These are the only letters I've been given.
Since you have not been notified of his replacement, he is still a NERC commissioner. So you're at 22.
Please do.
All right.
Come on now.
Yeah.
All right.
How close are we, Mary? How close are we, Mary?
22, 5 off.
All right. Okay. Let's go to report of the chair. There are a couple things. I just want to make a comment. One of my commitments this year, once I'm a main chairperson, is to try to do our best to keep us on task as far as timing. Many times that we're going along good, and then at the end of the meeting, we kind of lose our closure. I want to make sure this year that we try to be as responsive to you as board members. I know that many times you have to get back to your respective areas, and you have other meetings waiting for you. So in order to keep the meeting going fast, what I would like to start doing is having public comment at the beginning of the meeting. And probably we would do that right after self-introductions. And a couple reasons for that is, one, as I said, keeping us on time, being sensitive to you, but also giving the public that are here, if there is issues on the agenda that they would like to speak about prior to us taking action, it gives them an opportunity. There's a couple times I've heard under public comment, somebody say, well, you've already taken action, so really, I'm wasting my time. I don't want that to be the case. It also allows for someone who may want to have some input here but cannot stay for the entire meeting, gives them an opportunity to speak, and if they have to leave and go to work or whatever, they can. So I think it will keep us also on track on our timing. I know the finance and personnel are going to be talking a little bit more in detail about that under Mayor Milo's report. But with that said, I do want to turn this over real quick to Ty. Ty has a presentation that I think we're all excited to be a part of. And that's it, Ty.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we have the Norman Tufford Awards that is given annually, and that was named after the first executive director of NERC. And this is the third year that those awards are awarded. And I'm very, very pleased. We had a selection committee of myself and Mayor Sanacor and Mayor Duran, and in accordance with the resolution that was passed creating the Tufford Awards. And I'm very pleased to be able to present that award today to Dave Schaefer, Clerk Treasurer of Munster. Briefly, Dave has, as you know, a very long history with NERC, 22 years in the NERC Commission, including he was NERC President in 2005. And not only has he served the region and has shown a commitment to regionalism and what NERC stands for, he has also served as President of the National Association of Regional Councils, and which was phenomenal for having our input on the national level and being connected to other regional councils across the country. Dave, I suppose somewhat ironically, helped initiate the Tufford Awards, although he would never have asked for this himself. His service has been absolutely outstanding. And of those folks that I did know from NERC when I was on the Illinois side of the planning world, before I ever knew that I'd be coming to NERC, Dave was one of those faces of NERC to me. That's who I associated NERC with. And so I'm thrilled to be able to present this today. Thank you.
Nice speaking.
I want to say that NERC is one of those organizations that you really become attached to. And the work we do here is important. And the region as a whole benefits by what we do. Plus, it's fun. So to be recognized by my peers for doing something that I enjoy is just icing on the cake. So thank you for the recognition. Thank you for the courtesies you have extended to the office I hold. And I wish you all the very best of luck.
Now I'm going to ask Jeff Benson, the Vice Chair of the Nominating Committee, to give a report, understanding that we cannot take a vote today on the nominations, but he is going to give us an update. So with that, Jeff?
Is it in here, in my packet?
It was on your table right in front of you.
Thank you very much. The nominating committee met and discussed options and came up with a slate of officers for the NERC for 2014. There was the overwhelming consensus for the chairperson to be Brian Snedecor, vice chair to be Blair Milo, the treasurer to be Jim Tun, secretary to be Roosevelt Allen. Representing Lake County on the executive board would be Anthony Copeland and Tom Schmidt. Representing LaPorte County would be Richard Murphy and Dave Decker. Representing Porter County would be Don Ensign and Nancy Adams. The governor's appointment, which we have not much say in, but we would hope that the governor would continue to have Ed Soliday. And the immediate past chair is Davey Renner.
Okay, thank you, sir. We will, hopefully at the next meeting, the full commission will be able to act upon that and move forward. Okay, I did want to make a quick mention. Everyone here has been provided the committee preference form. I would ask you to be very diligent in getting that filled out. If you want to fill it out today while the meeting's going on and hand it, Mary, at the end of the meeting, if you want to get it to Mary, so we can begin working on this. We really want to plug you into the areas that you really feel this year is the area that you want to serve in. If you don't get it filled out today, please get it filled out within the next week or so and get it back to Mary. So at the next meeting, hopefully we can have some assignments in place. Yes.
Just a quick comment. If you're interested in the Land Use Committee or the Pathway to 2040 Implementation, thank you. If you're interested in the Land Use Committee or the Pathway to 2040 Implementation Committee, there has been some discussion, I understand. I don't think it's been fully worked out yet, but there may be some overlap between those two possibly. But so I'm just giving you a heads up on that. We'll see as we work with those two committees how that transpires. But just to sort of advance awareness of that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just a point of clarification. Would the next February meeting not be an executive board meeting, but a full commission meeting then?
Yes. Yes. In fact, we were just going to mention that, so well point. You want to say anything?
On page 1 of your agenda packet is the tentative schedule of 2014 NERC meeting dates, and of course, given the absence of a quorum this morning, the schedule is already in state of being modified. We will need to have a full commission meeting almost surely on February 20th, when we were going to have an executive board meeting. So we're required to have full commission meetings under our enabling statute, 1 per quarter, and we need to get our officers elected. So this schedule is already in a position to be modified, and we'll see if we can get a quorum for a full commission meeting in February.
Very good. Also want to mention in your packet is meeting information as you look to decide what boards that you may have an interest in serving on. It actually gives you information on when the meeting times are, how often they meet, and so forth. So if there's any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of the NERC staff. I, Mary, or anyone can help you with if you're not sure what board you want to serve on, they can give you some information on what those boards are relevant and considered. So with that, let's move on to approval of the minutes for the December 12th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask for clarification on the location from that December meeting? I believe it was at Woodland Park. It's a technical correction only. And then I'll make a motion to approve with that correction.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve with the one amendment as so stated. There is no further discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's move to finance and personnel. Mayor Milo, would you like to give the report, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chairman. And we have 2 items to discuss from the Finance and Personnel Committee, which met previous to this meeting. First up, we have an agreement between Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission and South Shore Plain Cities aimed for the provision of professional education and project management services. I think this is included in everybody's packet. They can take a look through. There are 5 tasks that are listed there, primarily to do with a diesel retrofit program And this is for an amount not to exceed $100,000. And per the recommendation of the Finance and Personnel Committee, I move to adopt the South Shore Clean Cities contract as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The second item I have in the packet is Resolution 14-01, which is a resolution of NERC to establish policies for commission meetings. And hopefully everyone has had a chance to look through the resolution. And this has been an item of discussion amongst the Finance and Personnel Committee for several months, that we wanted to try and establish just a set policy for how meetings would be addressed, and in a fashion that the chair can certainly still have the full discretion as the chair of the body. But the important items to, I think, pull out of there are the provision for Sergeant at Arms to be present at all full commission and executive board meetings, and that the Sergeant at Arms will serve at the direction of the chair or the individual convening and conducting the meetings to ensure that participants and members of the commission and the public conduct themselves so as not to disrupt, interfere, or prevent the commission from conducting the business of the meeting. And other items of note, that individuals wishing to comment in public comment must register prior to the start of the commission meeting, and the registration form will include the participant's name, city or town, and relevant topic from the agenda. Participants will be limited to 2 to 3 minutes each, and no shouting, name calling, or vulgarity will be permitted, and respect must be shown by all parties. So per the recommendation of the Finance and Personnel Committee, I move to adopt Resolution 14-01.
Second. We'll do it, that's right.
Not a problem, not a problem.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mayor Milo.
And this concludes my report from the Finance and Personnel Committee.
Okay. Let's move on to Land Use Committee. And this is a presentation, Michigan City South Shore Realignment Study.
Good morning, Commissioners. While we're getting the technology set up here, for those of you who may not know me, my name is Rich Murphy. I'm a city councilman in Michigan City, Indiana, for the Lakefront and Downtown District. And we are here to tell you a story about Michigan City, a story that pertains to the South Shore, location of the South Shore rails in Michigan City. Issue that has been described as a 100-year decision, 100-year land use and transportation decision, and one that we think we can share some perspective as a city for all of you. I'm here with a longtime friend of NERC, Craig Phillips, who is Michigan City Planner, and Craig and I are going to co-present and tell you our story. A story that, for me, began about 7 years ago when I became engaged in the issue of the location of the South Shore Rails in Michigan City, and one that we'll present more detail, but we just finished as a partnership project with NICD, a $1 million Tiger II grant that looked at identifying the preferred corridor in Michigan City. And we're going to get into detail on that. But first, I want to kind of set the context of this decision and what was going through kind of the minds of residents and leaders as we approach this Tiger II grant. So, actually, go back for a second, Craig. This is existing conditions in Michigan City. We have a double-decker train passing 11th Street Station. see the marquee. We street run in Michigan City, so that means the train runs right down the middle of the street. A lot of people like that, but it does present challenges. Just to give you some context, you can't talk about Michigan City without talking about the lakefront. We have 2 miles of lakefront. We have about 1,000 slip marina, and you can see our lighthouse in the background, and 90 acres of parkland on our lakefront as well. We're 60 miles from Chicago, which presents the opportunity for the South Shore. We have we consider the South Shore our lifeline to Chicago, and it's something we need to leverage. And I know a lot of you communities out there would identify with this opportunity. We're a town built by the railroads, established in 1830. The railroads are who we are in Michigan City. We have a deep appreciation of the South Shore Railroad, and it really defines our historic architecture, our history, and housing stock. This is our downtown in the heyday. I know many of the communities out there this photo resonates. We got Sears, J.C. Penney, Montgomery Ward, all on Main Street. And we have an industrial legacy we're dealing with. We're trying to reinvent ourselves and position ourselves to leverage the assets we have. So over the years, as consultants kind of came through Michigan City, they identified a concept called the Golden Triangle. Golden Triangle is identified as the northern apex is Lake Michigan, western is our Lighthouse Mall, which is a reuse of the Haskell-Barker Railroad facility. Blue Chip Casino to the east, and the blue star there you see is our existing conditions 11th Street Station in Michigan City. And that's kind of personified the Golden Triangle, the lakefront, premium outlets, and the Blue Chip. About visitors, we get a lot of them, about 8 to 9 million visitors, which is pretty staggering for a town of Michigan City. About 6 million come to Lighthouse Premium Outlets, a couple million to our casino, and another million to our lakefront. So this is some critical mass that comes through Michigan City each year. And this Golden Triangle is the opportunity. You'll see we have a lot of good stuff going on in this Golden Triangle. And then our transportation lifeline to Chicago. And I don't have to tell you what the lifeline means. It's a connection from our downtown to downtown Chicago. And it's not only a connection, it's a staggering connection when you come up from Millennium Station at downtown and you see Millennium Park and you're poised to walk down Michigan Avenue. So this asset has really created an opportunity for residents of downtown Michigan City to be virtually walking distance from downtown Chicago, and that's the opportunity for us. This is existing conditions, a westbound train passing our 11th Street Station, street running. This is existing conditions looking west, the station, which is vacant right now. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We have a waiting facility and some limited parking there. The station has recently been purchased by a developer looking at putting in mixed-use development, lofts and retail. So there's some exciting stuff happening. And I just want to say something because I worked with Nick D for 7 years pretty intensively on this issue, and we love the South Shore. We love the tradition. We love everything about it. It runs through the heart of our downtown. And the conductor stamps your ticket, and he'll take a picture with your niece and daughter if you ask him to as well. So, historic photos of 2 trains passing each other in front of the historic downtown station. I mean, this is Michigan City personified up there. And this is Craig in my favorite photo of Michigan City, an evening westbound train with the historic South Shore Line sign. Now, the investor that bought the station says he wants to recreate that sign. And I guess if you can imagine yourself sipping a beer on the retail level and watching the trains go back and forth, I mean, that's the opportunity we have to redevelop this icon in Michigan City. So we're street running around a hairpin turn. Nikki has always expressed concerns about street running, about some of the turns. A lot going on when you street run. As you can see this photo, you have cars, you have a train running down the street, there's people walking, bicycles. So there are concerns. In 2007, we had an important moment in the history of Michigan City. It was called the North End Plan Charrette, and 26 architectural students came to Michigan City. They lived in our town and they studied our town, and one of the dominant themes of this award-winning plan, which won the highest architecture prize in the country, was the focus of the location of the South Shore line in Michigan City. Basically, what the students had learned in 2007, this is where I kind of walked into the picture, was there were plans to move the South Shore line out of downtown Michigan City to effectively a outskirts of downtown location, about 3/4 of a mile from our downtown. And from a planning perspective, this brought up concerns to these students that said, look, if you're gonna plan a blank canvas city, one of the first things you're gonna want is an electric interurban running through the heart of your downtown. You already have one, why would you wanna move it? And so this is something that, a message we had received in 2007. It was a strong message that said, look, leaders, community, if you wanna step up and do something about this, you can, but the writing's on the wall that these rails could be moving. So this activated the community. Now the students also, and I always love pointing out this slide, the students looked at previous plans such as the Marquette plan and bullet number 5, Michigan City key recommendations of the Marquette plan. And I quote, create opportunities for transit-oriented development around the South Shore line in Michigan City. So from our perspective, it wasn't like we were making this stuff up. It was actual plans and cooperative efforts that have been captured in award-winning plans and a running theme throughout. So we had a public process. Began in about 2007. We had packed City Hall meetings. I mean, some of the most crowded meetings I've ever attended in Michigan City. Lots of discussion. The railroad presented their points. The citizens presented their points. The city leaders kind of took it all in. And it was kind of what needed to happen with the public process. In 2008, it's kind of an amazing occurrence. One of the arguments that the transit-oriented development makes is that there's economic benefit by utilizing efficient transportation around a station in a downtown setting. So we knew that consultants year after year that would come through told us the opportunities downtown by the lake, and we said, well, we have to quantify it. You can't just tell us that. We have to know what is the opportunity. How much money are you talking about? So in 2008, we hired, the citizens of Michigan City privately funded a study. And the study was called Economic Impacts of the Location of the South Shore line in Michigan City by TND Planning. And they came in and they looked at the 3 proposed options. By the way, there's a definition of transit-oriented development. It's efficient use of land and transportation infrastructure. CODs, as they're called, are places of relatively high-density, pedestrian-friendly development and mixed land uses. Here's a couple pictures of TOD around the country. This is in Plano, Texas. There's an aerial. That's another picture of that same TOD. You can just fly through these. I think this is Phoenix. People live by the train because they're walking distance to metropolitan areas where they work, and it's a quality of life experience and a positive economic impact on the town. So we looked at 3 options. The central alignment is the existing alignment. here. That's existing. This is our downtown Franklin Street corridor, the picture I showed you earlier. That's our old downtown. We looked at a quarter-mile section, pedestrian shed, which is typically defined as TOD, central, north, and south. South was the proposed alignment that Nick D had been saying that they preferred over the years. And they have good reasons for wanting to do that. We'll get into in a minute. So the Golden Triangle, now we started rethinking the Golden Triangle because we have all this good stuff here, the lake, and we have this great asset. Why, let's think about it holistically, how we can leverage this stuff together. So we started thinking about the Golden Triangle differently as a, next slide, Craig, diamond. So the diamond would effectively leverage the station in bookend development from the 11th Street station to Lake Michigan and still get all the good stuff in these visitor anchors, the Lighthouse Premium Outlets, Blue Chip, and all our historic downtown structure. So we were onto something with this, and it started getting traction, both from leadership and citizens. At the same time, a kind of miraculous thing happened. Downtown Michigan City started coming back. We experienced a revitalization driven by an arts movement. People started commenting like, wow, I've never seen this many people downtown. It was positive. More people came downtown, more people came to our beaches. And this kind of drove home this position that the city had. It was growing that, look, if we're gonna move the rails out of something that's happening downtown right now, this would really position kind of the following dynamic. In 7 to 10 years, when we're revitalized, would be just about the time that we're going to rip out our train station from our downtown and put it out of our downtown to a southern bypass route. That seemed like not a good idea at the time. And at the same time, the vision was developing in Michigan City about a dynamic cultural center in downtown. So I love this picture in Michigan City. It's symbolic because there's a lighthouse, there's the lakefront, and there's the Chicago skyline, which really kind of, in a nutshell, presents the opportunity we have, which is you can live in a downtown setting, but still be connected to the world-class metropolitan area by this lifeline, this transportation lifeline that can have economic, positive economic impact on your town. So we had an opportunity in 2010. I'm going to turn it over to Craig. This was the Tiger 2, and I just want to remind everyone what TIGER stands for: Transportation Investment Generating Economic Recovery. So that was the opportunity for the city to look at economic impact. NICTE had a lot of operational efficiency and issues on their end to run the railroad, all extremely valid points. And we engaged in a very positive discussion with NICTE about this opportunity, and a final report was generated that has a consensus. And we're very proud to have worked with NICTE on this issue. And I just want to hand it over to City Planner Craig Phillips to give you some of the details of the realignment study. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rich. So I came into this process toward the tail end in terms of the overall time frame that Rich was talking about, but had a lot of involvement in the completion of the study itself, and I want to talk a bit about some of the specifics of the study. So first off, I think you're all familiar with generally where the South Shore runs, obviously, and we're all familiar having ridden it or being familiar with it, but this map just shows you very briefly the study area. Essentially, this runs, our study area involved in this effort was from the Carroll Street Station on the east side of Michigan City to the western city limits, essentially where the South Shore basically runs from the county line westward. Along the way, we had to kind of reflect back on the goals and objectives of both sides. This was definitely a give and take kind of discussion that took place between the entities involved here, NICTE and the City of Michigan City. And this just diagrams some of the goals and the things that were important to both sides. In Nikki's case, the increased speed, that's a big deal for them. Obviously, they're providing a service of getting people to and from Chicago. Decreased maintenance costs associated specifically with particularly some issues with the street running was a big concern for them because there's a lot of maintenance, ongoing maintenance that normally wouldn't have with a regular track running type of situation that we have in Michigan City as a result. And to be the mode of choice, to improve their service so that they're the way that people choose to get to and from Chicago. On the city side, we're all about wanting to make sure we improve the quality of life for our residents, of course. A big driver behind this is providing economic opportunities for the city, and then maintaining access through the town without basically trying not to sever our town in half by the decision that was made as a result of this effort. And then out of those discussions came the kind of the commonality or the agreement in terms of the things that we thought were important, and those were keeping the tracks out of the street. In terms of the engineering solution that was arrived at, a better passenger station. You saw the station before, obviously, that we have room for improvement there. Enhanced safety. As you're all aware with street running, we don't have regular street crossings, railroad crossings throughout our city, and so that was an issue that needed to be addressed. And reliability, increased reliability of service, that's a benefit to both Nikki and the city, of course, and enhanced access to Chicago. So I want to talk just briefly about the alignment options that were studied. This just is an overview of the whole city. Now I'll zoom in a little bit here. And there were several routes. At one time there were probably about 8 routes that were studied, but there were basically 3 major corridors, if you will, that were mentioned by Rich. First was the central route, which is the existing route here in the center of the screen with the star indicating the Franklin Street, 11th Street station. The northern routes that were studied, and there were lots of different alignments that were looked at in various locations along the lakeshore, along Trail Creek, to the north of downtown, closer to the lakefront. And then on the southern route, which is the existing CSX tracks largely, with the diversion to get back to the South Shore tracks on the west side. Running, if you're familiar with Michigan City, Franklin Street at Ames Field, which is the football stadium. In that vicinity was basically the other route that was discussed. As part of this process, we developed an agreement in terms of the way that the business would be conducted between the two sides, and that was in the form of what was called the Management Oversight Group. The Management Oversight Group met probably 20 or so times throughout the process, sometimes on a monthly basis, depending on the issues that were being discussed at the time. But both sides came together. 4 people from each side, 4 people from Nikki and 4 people from Michigan City, met on a regular basis, and those were determined by both of those organizations. And all the decisions that were made throughout this process were made with through the representatives of the Management Oversight Group. The Management Oversight Group was in charge of basically conducting this $1 million Tiger study that we received federal funds for. Both sides contributed about $100,000 to that effort, so overall the $1 million study, Nikki provided $100,000 of that, and the city provided $100,000 of that. So we were equal partners in that regard in terms of our financial commitment in the study. The study itself was over 2.5 years worth of negotiations and analysis, and that's reflected in the fact that it's a very difficult situation to try to determine how to reroute this through Michigan City. A lot of very opposing viewpoints on where the route should go, those sorts of things. I already mentioned that we had basically monthly meetings for a long period of time as we went through this. And there were also several public meetings and workshops that were held at various points throughout the process, of course, because the public input was important throughout this process. And here you can see, if you want to go back to that, there's one of the public workshops, there was a question asked during this is in the council chambers at City Hall, there was a question asked during that process, and apparently people were pretty enthusiastic about letting their thoughts be known. Now I'm going to talk specifically about the 3 routes a little bit more in detail. The first one, as we mentioned, is the central route, is the existing route. Basically what this took a look at was re-engineering and retrofitting the existing route in ways that were basically increasing that efficiency, speed, safety, all those factors that I mentioned before. I'll just kind of walk you through this really briefly. This is Mount Baldy on the west as you enter the west side of Michigan City. So US 12 is running through here. And the existing South Shore tracks have a purple dotted line coming in here. At that point, there were different options that were reviewed. In the area of the prison here, along 10th Street, the idea was that the tracks would be taken out of the street and put in their own, basically, new right-of-way, if you will, along the 10th Street corridor. The straightening and the softening, if you will, of the hairpin curve is a big factor. And so this is a much smoother curve than what we suggest, or than what exists today. And then primarily following the same alignment through the city, past the 11th Street, Franklin Street Station, as it travels east through the city, ultimately to the Carroll Ave Station. And so this option is essentially, like I said, a reworking, a re-engineering, a investment in the same corridor. One of the things that the study took a look at was some specifics with regard to what the economic and transit-oriented development impacts could be for each of the options. And then what this depicts is our existing downtown. This is Franklin Street right here, and then 11th Street obviously is the tracks, the running of the tracks. And the Lighthouse Mall is right here. So the area kind of between Lighthouse Mall and the downtown, you can see here that there's a lot of opportunity for reinvestment. There's a proposal basically showing a new station area and the transit-oriented development being kind of focused around that station area. There were different station locations that were reviewed, and that's why the circles kind of, there were different options that were looked at here. But the idea here is that there were walking sheds, if you will, times of travel that were typical for transit-oriented development were also looked at and reviewed, and the amount of development that would likely occur as a result of the investment in terms of the realignment in return. The northern options basically took off from, again, on the west side of Michigan City near Mount Baldy, then following essentially the railroad yards, the South Shore Railroad Yard that is in the vicinity of the NIPSCO power plant. So the Michigan City Generating Station is this whole area right here, for those of you who are familiar with the NIPSCO plant. So essentially kind of running up parallel to the lakeshore, up by the generating station, and then several different divergent kind of alternatives, whether it was running down Michigan Boulevard, running closer to the lake, or some alternative in between, and then somehow getting back down through the Trail Creek corridor, essentially back to the existing line. And that northern option, one of the things that was identified as a result of the analysis was that there was a concern that it kind of arose out of that process with regard to creating more bottleneck along the lakeshore with additional trains, and so that was one of the things that was definitely voiced as part of the analysis of that part of the project. There was a significant amount of transit-oriented development that could occur. Now this is in conjunction also with the availability of developable redevelopment land, basically the opportunity for underutilized or unutilized properties in the far north end of downtown Michigan City. And that's reflected in the kind of the development patterns that you see here. City Hall is located about here, and our library here. This is Michigan Boulevard coming in from LaPorte, what used to be Highway 35 coming in from LaPorte, and then US 12 running across the top here. And this is today an opportunity that we're focused on in other ways, but you can see here the study clearly reflects that there was a lot of opportunity for transit development as a result of that option. The final option that was reviewed, again, is the south option. The existing tracks coming in from the west near Mount Baldy, and then cutting through south of the prison to connect with the existing CSX tracks on the south side of the city. Again, near Ames Field, where Franklin Street crosses the CSX tracks. And then taking the CSX tracks and following that corridor up to where basically near where the existing NICTE and South Shore Line yards are on the east side of the city. And so you can see here it's a pretty straight shot, not a lot of obstructions. This was at one time the preferred alternative that was expressed by NICTE, with a station in the vicinity of the old L's supermarket and the Ames Field area. But you can see here, and it's reflected in some of the economic analysis that was done, there's not a lot of opportunity at all for transit-oriented development as a result of this route. There's far more vehicular access to this site, but not as much economic activity was expected to be driven by this option. These are just some of the factors, some of the things that were factored in terms of the analysis. Right here we're taking a look at the time savings associated with it. At one time, there were 7 or 8 routes that were being studied. These are all kind of derivatives of those big 3 that we talked about. But you can see here, that some of these resulted in significant time savings. This was the south route. This was essentially the existing route. This is the time savings in number of minutes with each of the alignments that was analyzed. And then several different northern options that were essentially about the same as the existing route. It's important to note the cost-benefit analysis that went into this in terms of the investment required to make these various options happen versus the economic impact that would be driven by this. And the cost of the actual projects themselves was a big factor. The 11th Street corridor, the existing corridor, 10th and 11th Street corridor, came in just shy of $100 million of investment to make that option happen. The Northern Amtrak corridor along the lakefront was about just shy of $200 million, and then the Southern CSX corridor was about just over $200 million. It's important to note that on the southern option, one of the things that would be required was a new yard for NICD and the South Shore, and that's why that cost was substantially more, was because there were difficulties with using the existing yards if that option was chosen. This is a rendering of what the proposed Franklin Street Station will look like if this is to become a reality. What you see here is in the middle you see elevated platform, much the same as you see at other stations throughout the system, Dune Park, East Chicago, Hegewisch, all those other places. So the idea was to create the same environment for Michigan City to increase the efficiency, to decrease the time it takes to get people to and from Chicago, so that all doors would open as they do in other stations. And so that was a big factor involved here. NICD thought it was very important to have an 800-foot platform to be able to unload and load each of the 8 cars that often are commonplace in Michigan City. But here you see the transit development kind of happening around the station. This is the old station building itself. And the idea was to create a new station integrated either within or adjacent to or both the existing station. And a nice opportunity we had to embrace that history, but also modernize the facility. This is a view of the preferred alternative. And I should say this is the preferred alternative. What was chosen ultimately as a result of this process was NICD and the City of Michigan City ultimately arrived at retrofitting and re-engineering the existing 10th and 11th Street corridor. And the big important thing here is that it's no longer street running. The tracks, as you can see here, the tracks themselves are located within a channel that is a dedicated section of the street right-of-way, but the street is on the side. There's a protected curb. There's still pedestrian opportunities for pedestrian circulation on both sides, but there's a double track basically of the train within that existing corridor, and it runs within its own properly engineered, properly drained type of cross section, if you will, from an engineering standpoint. That was a big deal to NICD, and we also agree that that was a pretty important element. These are just some other illustrations. You see the same one on the bottom here. This is an idea of what 10th Street right now. The tracks run right down the center of the street, and the idea is to pull the tracks off into their own right-of-way on the south side of the street with pedestrian connections, and so you can kind of see that environment here. 10th Street would become a major street through Michigan City as opposed to the current combination of 10th and 11th Street, which is a little bit awkward, especially for tourists and visitors trying to find their way around the city. The executive summary, some of the points of the executive summary, I just want to go over really quickly, was that there was definitely a focus on increased economic development opportunities, improved quality of life, and reduction of those travel times, increases in speed, reduction of maintenance costs. These are the key elements that came out of the study. Ultimately, we arrived at consensus. The management oversight group arrived at consensus and compromise. This was definitely not this was a hard fought and very, very thorough analysis that we went through, but ultimately, as it mentions here, basically we arrived at a solution that took the tracks out of the street, which increased all those levels of efficiency, increased the speeds, all those sorts of things. We arrived at a solution that gives us a modern station that keeps it within our downtown. And it's important to note that, we thought that was a very important thing, that either the northern or the central route was the preferred alternative for the city, and the compromise was the central alternative. This is just the newspaper headline that the day that the council supported the alternative, unanimously supported the alternative for the central corridor. That was a big day in Michigan City. It's important to note that transit-oriented development doesn't just happen. I know the people at NERC understand this. It's a partnership between the operator and the community, and the train station doesn't just generate it's important to know that the train station itself doesn't just generate the development. I think we can see the existing conditions around some of the other stations throughout the system. We have stations, but it takes the effort of both parties to make the other transit-oriented development type of opportunities happen. And then that also, along with that, goes things that the city has to do to prepare itself for those things to happen in the future. Things like making sure the proper zoning is in place, land assemblage, the things that we do as a city to try to make economic development opportunities happen within our city. This is just a quick overview of visualization of what the transformation at the intersection of 11th and Franklin might look like if the transit-oriented development were to happen. So you see here we start to introduce the train, pedestrians, vehicles, all those things in the same area. And then the type and scope of development that we're talking about is mid-rise development with parking in the back, integrated with either a combination of surface lots or parking garages. And then you can still see the fabric of downtown Michigan City is maintained. And here you just see another example of the existing conditions. Again, the Golden Diamond, another version of the Golden Diamond. We're currently conducting a significant analysis of a lot of the plans that were done in the north end of the city, and taking basically the commonalities of all those plans that largely have sat on a shelf, and basically looking at what resources and what partners need to be involved to make those things happen. And out of that has come this concept of the diamond, which in this case looks like an actual, jewel diamond. But this is one of the studies that we're conducting right now, indicating those golden triangles being turned into a diamond. So it's an ongoing conversation in our community right now. And that's it. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you.
All right, thank you. Congratulations to Michigan City. Okay, let's move on to, if that microphone, Mayor Strader, if you can move that microphone down to Commissioner Griffin. We have the Pathway to 2040 committee draft. You have the report on that, Griffin?
Mr. Chairman, designate, and members of the committee, before you, we really have no report from the committee. You have before you actually a set of the minutes that are located on pages 25 to 28, which faithfully capture the dynamic that occurred among the committee when we were considering the Ileana proposal relative to its alignment with the comprehensive plan. There is before this committee, but I'm not sure it certainly will defer to the members of the executive committee about taking it up. I did present as I had promised, but this is the time for that.
Not yet.
It is not? All right. Then I've completed my report.
Thank you. I believe we put that on our transportation policy, but we certainly would encourage your participation in the discussion on that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the Transportation Policy Committee. I believe Commissioner Dolis is going to give us an update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Transportation Policy Committee met on January 14th. We had 3 actions for consideration today. The first, the committee heard a presentation from Greg Calipino of SEH Engineering about new trail projects under development around Wolf Lake and the Dunes State Park. Both projects are scheduled for completion this year. Please contact Ms. Barloga if you have any further questions about these projects. The The Lake County Commissioner has requested a transfer of existing surface transportation funds. A copy of their letter details the request and can be found on page 36. Gary Evers will provide a brief update on this.
Good morning. Several years ago, I think it was in our 2009 solicitation for projects, Lake County had submitted a replacement project, bridge number 241 Kennedy Avenue over the Grand Calumet River for consideration. There were other projects that scored higher than it, so it was not funded. Unfortunately, this bridge has continued to deteriorate over time. The deck is fine. It is the piers, the piers that are beneath the water level that need some repair work done. Lake County approached us several months ago asking if we would consider bringing this project into the Group 1 funding stream off cycle. Normally, our next normal solicitation would be in 2015. This project could not wait that long because of the point at which these piles were in. So we brought it to the committee, and Lake County made their case for this project. What they're offering to do, and TPC agreed with them, is to drop an ad. They would like us to pick up Group 1 funding on this bridge project in exchange for dropping a full road rehab project on Colfax Avenue between, I think, Main Street and 45th, I believe is where that is located, on the border between unincorporated Calumet Township and the town of Griffin. So it works well in our favor in terms of from a dollar point of view, because the cost of repairing the bridge is less than the cost of reconstructing the road. It also eliminates a potential threat to health and safety. So with that in mind, we have, the committee agreed, and we have included that project in one of the TIP amendments before you this morning. So I don't know if we're going to take action on doing that.
We will, yeah.
Okay.
You explain, yeah. Are you ready for me to move on that?
If you care to, at your pleasure.
Okay, this is adoption 1402 on page 38, the Sixth Amendment to the fiscal year 2014-2017 Transportation Improvement Program. What the transportation policy recommends adoption of resolution 14-02, if that's correct.
Well, no, but we'll deal with it anyway. This is a collection of state NDOT projects, several pages worth of them, as a matter of fact. The first 6 on page 40 are railroad protection projects. All of these involve the upgrade of the railroad crossing at these locations. I think 2 of them are in Dyer and 4 of them are in St. John. These are all Norfolk Southern and CSX crossings. And then we have 10 preliminary engineering projects that NDOT is asking to be brought into the TIP for a variety of projects. Several bridge deck overlays, some preventive maintenance, HMA projects, hot mix asphalt, overlay projects, a concrete pavement restoration project, and a pipelining project, I believe. And one small structure. That is, and again, these are all NDOT projects in Amendment 6. And we would ask for your consideration of this amendment.
So the committee recommends adoption of
Okay, is that a motion?
No, you have, I just recommend to you to adopt.
Okay, that's what you're done. Okay, do I have a motion in regards to resolution 1402?
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt resolution 1402.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt resolution 1402 as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The second action is adoption resolution 1403, which is located on page 43. The seventh amendment to the fiscal year 2014-17 Transportation Improvement Program. Gary Evers will describe the action.
This includes the changes to Lake County as I described earlier. These projects are listed on page 45. City of Hammond, we are putting some PE and right-of-way projects back into a bike and ped project that they have ongoing right now. Those were inadvertently omitted from the DTIP when it was adopted in August. The second project listed there is the bridge rehabilitation project that I mentioned earlier, $1.8 million in federal funds. We believe that Lake County intends to construct that project next state fiscal year. The third project is, again, a restoration of a phase that was left out of the new tip, and that was for preliminary engineering on an intersection improvement project on Merrillville Road at 7th Street. And the final action in this amendment is the deletion of the Colfax Avenue project for Lake County Highway Department. This project will be removed from the tip and will receive no further consideration for funding. We'd ask for your approval of this.
Mr. Chairman, the Transportation Policy Committee recommends adoption of this resolution 14-03.
Mr. Chair, I move for adoption of resolution 14-03.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve resolution 1403 as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you. The final action involves a matter that first brought before the Commission last month. Resolution 14-04 on page 46 would support local communities incurring emergency services costs related to the Eliana Expressway project. Commissioner Michael Griffin will describe this action.
Thank you, Commissioner Dulles. Mr. Chairman, members of the Executive Committee, and Venerable Attorney, because this has some import there. I'm asking, I'm going to defer to the Executive Committee about whether they want to take this up today or not. But pursuant to the notice that I offered to the full commission at our last meeting, and seconded by my colleague Bob Carnahan, I believed it would be helpful for us to opine. This is all this is. The sense of the commission resolution is essentially an expression of opinion. It's not intended to have any more import than a suggestion to the governor and the Indiana Finance Authority as the two entities who would be responsible for negotiating the ultimate operating agreement that's required under the statute that's cited here for Indiana as it goes through. My suggestion is really about recognizing that even though all of us had to do our own sort of cost-benefit analysis, and I believe in the end the correct one, when we made our recommendation, I do believe that we now have learned from the experience of these public-private partnerships enough, particularly with the toll road to the north of us, that it is helpful for us to make some suggestions that we think that could be positive for the process, particularly because these are enterprise assets of the state. They're attractive in these public-private partnerships in that the public, the state, the public benefiting from it, gets a new access point that has a value in commerce for all of us and possibly economic development, but some other positive outcomes or effects. And the private sector finds an opportunity for profit. And I'm not opposed to that, but when you're talking about using a public asset for a private profit, it seems reasonable for those pure public services that will be required, not just legally, because it's not clear about that, but let's be frank, there'll be a moral obligation to deliver some of those services there. And as I shared at the time that I had first proposed this idea ad hoc at the last meeting, I thought that there was some compelling comments made from not just the residents of Lowell, but some of the elected leadership there, talking about burdens that they were concerned about that they may bear as a provider of public safety services as the most proximate community to the 12 miles that will be in Indiana. All this basically suggests to the governor and to the Indiana Finance Authority as the responsible parties to bring the public-private partnership agreement for operation together, is to simply ask that they consider having some payment in lieu of taxes to be calculated according to a formula that's already in the statute. And all that formula is we take what the value of this asset is, and if we applied the rate for the incorporated area against it, what would it yield? And that formula was already in law, so I didn't have to invent anything. And secondly, to ask that there be some provision that there be an actual cost reimbursement to any community, the state, as well as the local communities that may provide for public safety services to be delivered there, which is measurable and tangible and not unreasonable. The state has something like that now in the toll road project, in that the state is reimbursed by the operator for the provision of state police on the toll road. There's a provision in the lease agreement now. That's a good idea. And all I'm doing is taking that good idea and suggesting that it be incorporated in whatever happens with the Oleana Tollway. And again, I'm hoping that the full commission will favor this, in that it's just an expression of opinion. It can be just another amount of paper that the governor and the IFA may receive, but I think it would have import coming from us as a council of governments as well as the MPO that acted favorably on this, not to create an undue burden on the process of the negotiation, but to make, I think, a legitimate appeal to the taxpayers along that area who will see a private investor-based asset get the benefit of our pure public goods from time to time morally.
I would agree with you that this probably should be a vote of the full commission, because I think of the overwhelming impact that it could make on some communities that I don't believe are here today. And if the executive board would allow, I think it would be wise of us to set this over for the next full commission meeting, to bring it before the full commission, and also allow Commissioner Griffin to present his concerns, and allow other communities that might be affected by this to have some ability to verbalize their concerns also. And also allow Representative Soliday to be present and to hear some of the concerns. Would the board be favorable to that, to set that over?
Motion to table until full commission meeting.
Okay.
Second.
All right.
I think we need to get that message to those that aren't here. We really need to get that.
Yeah. Okay. Been a motion and a second to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I thank the committee for that approach.
I was just going to comment, as you mentioned, Representative Soliday. He actually sent his regrets, conveyed them yesterday. He has to miss because of session, not only this meeting, but he won't be able to attend the next one either. So just so you're aware, he won't be able to be present for that.
Mr. Chairman, the next meeting of the Transportation Policy Committee is scheduled for 9:00 a.m. Tuesday, February 11th, and this concludes the report.
Thank you. All right, next up is Bob Alderman from IMDOT. Bob.
I tried to think of someplace else to go today, but I couldn't come up.
Here's my list of potholes.
Well, you all know what we're going to do. The freeze thaw, 40 to 50 degree turnaround in temperature, obviously, the closer you get to the lake, the more acute the potholes have become. I have people, as you all know, the snow started in November here. It seems to have returned every weekend since then, and sometimes during the week. But I have people right now that prior to Monday or Tuesday of this week that have probably had
and forgive me, I have a bit in my mouth. Probably had 3 or 4 days off in the last 2 months and been working 12-hour shifts. They're really ground down. We recognize there's a problem out there. Midnight Saturday night, I pulled the trigger on closing Clyde Avenue completely. It was the right time to do that. It had to be done. We were able to work on the road with 4 very large crews, took heavy equipment, everything out. All we have is cold patch right now, and that's not very good for staying in those holes. But we were able to at least get Clyde Avenue back open in time for the Monday morning rush so that folks could get to the steel mills, so the highway could be utilized. We're trying to stay with Klein, especially because of the high traffic counts there, the need for that highway to be functional. We have a lot of problems elsewhere, there's no question about that. I'm sure the locals, to a degree, have the same problems. So the difference is the highways I have very, very high traffic counts, and all you have to do is get a few flaws and they spread out rather quickly. Klein Avenue looked like it had been bombed out. And that was horrible. And we have other areas like that. Mayor Copeland has some serious problems in East Chicago on 312. We're going to get people over there. Broadway and Gary is very bad. We're going to try to get there. I can control a lot of things. I sure can't control Mother Nature. And I'm glad she struck south of here, rather than here. We're moving forward, trying to get to all this work. I have 359 people to serve 16 counties. But the greatest concentration of the damage to the roads is northwest, mainly in a lot in Lake, a lot in Porter, and here and in LaPorte County. I know it's easy. I live, after spending 29 years in the legislature, I'm like a professional taking criticism. If somebody has a problem they don't want to deal with, blame me and I'll be more than happy to take the rap for it. This is not an easy job. We don't have, we don't have unlimited funds. We're out. I can only work in 24 hours a day. I've looked for that 25th hour, just isn't there. We're trying to get as much accomplished as we can. It's not easy. It's not good on anyone's automobile. It's not good for us, but it's reality. Hopefully, also in Clyde Avenue, there is a project that starts in April, and it's a complete resurface project for Clyde, so that animal's going to go away. There are other roads that we will have projects on. I'll be more than happy to walk through the whole list next month, but we're deeply tied up in what we're doing right now, and it's about. I'd appreciate if there's problems out there for you. Sure you will get to it. It's a little hard to do business by news release, in that I had the media call me the other day and asked me to respond to a letter that had been mentioned in a news release from a legislator. Well, I hadn't even received the letter. I said, no problem. I'll be more than happy to respond when I get the letter and tell them that by that time we're filling those holes yesterday. So we're trying to respond to everything, but it's not easy. I'm more than happy to try to answer any questions that you have. Ty, I'm really glad things worked out on that Beanie Baby thing for you.
So far I'm out of jail.
Exactly. And I'm happy. I'm glad to hear it. I would wing them up. But I'm more than happy to try to answer your questions. One of the things I'd hope that somewhere down the line, and maybe we'll get the opportunity to start to plan this, if everybody's open to that. I think we need to find some real need and try to work something from its genesis, a project together that will benefit the region. That we all come together and try to find something that we can walk away from and say, hey, we all bought into this, we all started down the same road, and look what we accomplished. But questions, if you have questions, bring it on.
I have a question. I had a meeting in North Judson Monday, and I got on 231 and took 231 into Heber, and then I took Route 8. I didn't see any potholes on 231, didn't see any on Route 8 until I got into Counts.
I'll tell you what, one of the things that we all tend to forget is in the southern part of the district, those aren't those high ADT roads that we have up here. You know, when you got a couple 100,000 cars a day running on 80, 94, and you get just the smallest amount of damage, especially with those trucks, and unfortunately, many of the trucks, or at least some of the trucks, are overweight, the same on Glad Avenue. They're going to do incredible damage very quickly. Once anything starts to break apart, they're going to aggravate that. And that's what we're running to up here. And it's much more acute in the far northwest part of the district than any place else. I don't like it, but it's reality. You're not going to take the cars off of those roads. One of the hardest things I've ever done since I've been up here was close blind, but you couldn't keep it open. At midnight last Saturday night, I'm on the phone saying, I'll be up here at 5 o'clock in the morning. I want you to close it right now. I want you to start pulling people together so we can assess exactly what we got. I want you to round up all the cold mix we have in the district. I don't want it to be padded in. I want it to be heavy equipment to come out and roll it in because of the traffic that we have out there. And let's try to do this right with what we have. We rented air compressors and everything else to blow out the holes. Gave it our best shot, and at least it accommodated traffic without people having their vehicles ruined. It's a serious problem. There's no question about it. Maybe if we all get together, one of the things we might be able to do that would benefit us all is try to talk one of the asphalt plants that has hot mix available to stay open during the winter months. Because hot mix will solve a lot of those problems that the cold mix absolutely will not solve. I understand you know that.
Bob, you've been around, you're a breath of fresh air, believe me.
Stale air, stay.
Thank you.
No, we need to find ways. We need to find, there's some things that are available, and I think this is, I would challenge you all, and let me take my NDOT hat off because I may be unemployed, for making these kind of suggestions, and I'm only joking.
Not for the public record or anything.
I only as a citizen. The public record is a citizen. There are many ways to deal with these complex problems that are effective. But we're going to have to find ways to make a common investment in the things that we need that we can't afford individually. If we need a hot patch machine, the recycling hot patch machine that will actually take the pavement up, recycle it as a hot patch and lay it back down. I can't afford it individually. You can't afford it individually. But we're going to have to find ways to co-opt those sort of things to be able to meet the needs of our communities. If you bought 20% of it, then during the year you get 20% usage. If I own 40% of it, I get 40% usage. And if there's an emergency, we'll respond wherever it's needed, regardless of how much percentage you have left or I have left. We've got to find ways. We have common problems, and we each are trying to work them out in our own ways, and quite often we don't have the resources to do that. We're going to have to find ways to pull together and create those resources that benefit everybody. That guy that said that, he's out of the room now. I'm back with him now.
Well said. All right. Thanks, Bob. All right. We're running just a little late, so we'll try to catch up. Northwest Indiana Economic Development District, Commissioner Allen.
Good morning. The Northwest Indiana Development District, we are continuing to comply with the requirements that are set forth by the Economic Development Administration. We're trying to attain official economic development district status from the EDA. And the reason that we're trying to attain that district status, that would make communities in the Lake Porter and LaPorte counties that do not meet the distressed community criteria eligible for federal funding from the EDA. Currently, only the distressed communities are eligible for that funding, but we acknowledge that there are a lot of the more affluent communities in the county that have projects that are on the shelf that are ready to go, and they have their local matches, but they're not able to get the EDA funding because they're not a distressed community. So once we get that official designation from the EDA, then those communities that have those projects on the shelf that are ready to go, they can apply for the EDA funding. The official district status designation would also allow the Northwest Indiana Economic Development District to get operational funding from the EDA. We have been following all of the requirements of the EDA, but it's like a moving target. Their standards change. They tell us to do one thing, and we do it, we fulfill those requirements, and then we go back over and communicate with them, and then they add something else. Currently, they have requested that we get resolutions from the three counties, Lake County, LaPorte County, and Porter County, supporting the district, and also a letter of support from the governor's office. Lake County has already adopted their resolution. It's my understanding that LaPorte County commissioners have adopted theirs. We're waiting for the Porter County commissioners. And also, we have the letter that's pending in the governor's office. Also, an additional change that they have asked us to address back in 2009 when the organization was initiated. The organization was set up with 9 public and 8 private members. Public members were appointed by NERC. 8 private members were appointed by the Northwest Indiana Forum, and the membership were representatives of the public, private, and educational sectors. Now they're asking us to modify our bylaws and reduce the size of our board. So we are working with Attorney Patrick Lipp to try to comply with this additional concern. And we're going to have a meeting scheduled later this month to address this concern and also to reorganize the Northwest Indiana Development District. Any interested officials that are interested in serving on this board, and some of the new members should contact Mr. Warner to indicate their interest. I want to indicate that this board is serving 3 counties: LaPorte County, Porter County, and Lake County. Also, an accounting review is being conducted by Kernan and Associates. And that report will be made public upon completion of that review. Also, technical planning and assistance grants can be submitted to the Northwest Indiana Development District to be included in our sales at any time. You can simply go to the website to submit your applications. The Economic Development Administration, as you know, it continues to operate under congressional resolution, and they are affected by the federal sequestration. The last time we communicated with the officials over in Chicago, we wanted to know if we were wasting our time applying for the official district designation, and they encouraged us to continue to apply for that designation, and they sort of implied that at some point we would get our official district designation. So I would assume that once we get those letters of resolution from the three county commissioners, and we get that letter of support from Governor Pence, I don't think that there's anything else that they can require us to do, because we have met every requirement. We crossed all of our T's and dotted our I's, and so hopefully this year we will get our district designation. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I don't believe there's any other business to come before the board this morning. Yes, sure.
It's not necessarily an item of business, but I think it would fit in this category. That I didn't have a chance to mention it while he was here, but I do want to make sure that it's reflected in the record how appreciative I am as a fairly new member of this commission for all the commitment and hard work that has been done over the years by Dave Schaefer, and all of the positive examples that he has set for new members, and I think for future members to come, for all of the work that he did, not only as a member of NERC, but not everyone here has had the opportunity to attend the NARC conferences out in Washington, D.C. for the National Association of Regional Councils, to appreciate the scale of the work that Dave Schaefer did across this country to affect the impact that regional councils can have on our country's future, to make sure that our legislators in Washington, D.C. are aware of the challenges that regional councils are facing, and that then it serves as a conduit then for local government to express the impact and needs of infrastructure across the country to federal legislators. And so I just really want to express, and I have told him previously, so he is aware, but I want to make sure that it's expressed in this body as well, and then reflected in our records to show how much I appreciate his work, and that I think he serves as a fine example for any new commissioner, and I'm sure would be more than willing to talk with anybody that's new coming on board on ways to get involved and how to be a helpful member of this body, and probably for the National Association of Regional Councils.
Well said. Very well said.
Very nice, thanks.
Okay, let's move to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Jim? If you can kind of get close to a microphone, maybe.
Oh,
1 minute.
Oh, it's right here. Great, thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jim Nowacki. I'm a resident of the city of Gary, and I'm always happy to attend these NERC meetings. Of course, this is where so much money is being spent, and where so many important decisions are made that affect not just the city of Gary, but
If I can, please keep your comments
to 3 minutes.
No, keep them responsive.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'd rather be, and I am going to get at, I am going to get at the end of the thing, because I'm kind of building up to it.
But the ordinance we just acted on.
Right.
The comments need to be relative to NERC action.
Yeah, and it will be relative by the end of my comment.
Okay.
If you'll allow me the 3 minutes that we are given. I don't need more than 3 minutes, but if I'm not interrupted, I could probably get through it in 3 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'd really rather be down in Crown Point doing that, getting that property and keeping it and putting it on the tax rolls, rather than running up my legal bills and the legal bills for the public, that the public taxpayers have to spend on there. I'd really rather not be here today. I'd really rather be in downtown Gary at City Hall. There's an announcement being made today that the city has received the Promise Zone designation by the federal government, which is going to be very important for a city, and I'd like to get information on that. But I'm here today, at the meeting today, and I want to comment on the changes you've made regarding public comment at the meeting. Nothing wrong with having the comments at the beginning of the meeting. However, your agenda is really not available, and the package is really not available before the meeting for the public. So well, it takes me 2 hours to walk here from Gary, and I get here on time for every meeting. I'll have to actually get here an hour early to get this package so that I'll know what you're going to be discussing. So if I were to make a suggestion, it would be 2 suggestions actually. One would be that this package is available or available before the meeting so that the public might have an opportunity to make informed comments regarding the important work you're doing here. And I would even suggest that a public comment period at the end of the meeting would be important too, because some of the stuff that you discuss it's not very apparent until you've had the meeting. So, as I mentioned in my comments at another meeting, if the NERC board errs on the side of providing more public comment, that will not be wasted, rather than erring on the side of less public comment. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else? Yes.
Renee Jackson, Gary. My comment comes under Transportation Policy Committee. Well, it would have come under that headline. My comment is in regards to the public participation plan. And I would have been asking that if that subject had come up, that it still not be passed, because we feel that you have not followed the steps in regards to passing. You didn't even follow the steps outlining your own plan. According to an order that you got back in November to return to federal court, which you might want to ask your lawyer about, because in 4 days, he did ask for a deadline, extension to the deadline for the court order, which in 4 days, that deadline will be met for January 20th. And we discussed in the ad hoc committee meetings that I met with you in, some of your members were surprised that you knew nothing about the lawsuit. So I'm pretty sure he hasn't brought any further mention of the lawsuit to you. So I guess things will be as they were back in 2013, business as usual, without any disclosure. That might be okay for you, but me and my tax dollars would rather not having to keep going back to court on things that could have probably been solved just with some communication. Also, I wanted to get some justification about, or get on record, how you guys justified the money that the RBA gave out to the fixed route services providers in Lake County. That $500,000, that was supposed to be given to the fixed route providers, but it was given out to some that were in Porter County. And those decisions were never made transparent to the public. Didn't have any public input, didn't have the meetings in any public settings or anything like that. And I just kind of still want to know how you guys can justify doing that.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else before we go to the director's report? Real quick before he begins, are there any announcements?
Chairman?
Yes.
I'd just like to announce to the group that the Local Government Assistance Committee will be meeting on Thursday. The Local Government Assistance Committee will be meeting on Thursday, January 30th, right here at 9 o'clock. I think this is a really good opportunity, especially for the small communities to come together, as our town of Long Beach. The IAC folks from Indianapolis are here generally with some updates on what's going on, especially in small communities. So we're trying to build some more folks to come to these meetings, so we would encourage folks to join us, and I think the announcement will be sent out in the mail pretty soon. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll turn it over to the Executive Director, Ty Warren.
Great, thank you very much, and I will be brief. First of all, just to note that the agendas are posted in advance, downloadable from the website, multiple days in advance of the meeting, so the full packet is available for the public to peruse and see before they attend the meeting. Just a quick note on a couple of things mentioned. The public participation plan was essentially tabled at the Transportation Policy Committee when it was sent back to them to look at again, so that's where that's at. And just a quick note on the public mass transit funds that were mentioned over the past 2 years with the demise of the RBA, those funds have still come in. Those are a different animal than the funds that the commission normally works with. These are formula-based funds. So they go straight to the operators. With the demise of the RBA, essentially in 2013, before my time, that was redirected by INDOT to give those to our sub-operators. In 2014, for the upcoming year, we were instructed to give those to those that had service in the city of Canada. So those funds did go to Gary and East Chicago with fixed route service within the city of Canada. So that's the short answer on that issue. A couple of quick notes. You should have received a notice for upcoming public meetings regarding Klein Avenue Bridge and I-65 expansion. This is separate from the expansion we already voted on. Public meetings coming up on February 18th in Merrillville and February 19th in East Chicago, so you have some notices on that. Also, just to follow up to the Ileana, the Draft 2 EIS is about to be released, I believe, and there's public meetings scheduled not by NERC but by INDOT. There's one in Lowell on February 18th from 5 to 8. So if you wanted to make a whole transportation public meeting day of it, you could go to the NERC meeting at Merrillville from, I think it's 1 to 3, and then go on to the Lowell Ileana meeting from 5 to 8 and just have a great time that day. So there's much going on. Let me direct your attention to the 2013 year in review. First of all, I just want to thank you all. It's been a very good and a very quick year. I'm shocked that we've come around to January already and that it's been a year here. It's been very quick, but you all have made it a pleasure to be here, and I've really enjoyed working with each and every one of you, so thank you. This is a encapsulation of things that happened in NERC. I think you're used to seeing these year review reports, so I don't need to say this, but obviously a lot more happened that can be captured in this report, but these are some highlights over 2013, and would commend this to your reading and perusal and digestion. I will highlight 2 things at the end of this report that are new news since the last meeting of NERC. One, we did receive our certification from Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration. So we are recertified as the NPO. It was, I think, a very good report and very fair. Not only did we only receive 1 corrective action, which was anticipated in intelligent transportation systems, and we're actually looking forward to doing more work to integrate that throughout the region, but we received 4 commendations. In fact, the report says that NERC was a model of best practices for NPOs in Indiana, particularly in our 2040 plan for trail development, for environmental justice, and also for furthering ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act compliance. So those were commendations within that report. So I want to thank staff for their work in helping to receive those commendations and working with FHWA and FTA to make that a successful process. The other thing to highlight is our comprehensive annual financial report for the period ending 2012. Received notice from the Government Finance Officers Association that we qualify for basically best achieving award that you can get for financial reporting. This was excellent. We'll be receiving the actual plaque in, I think, a couple of months. But we received notice that we received that, and that's Angie and her staff is to be commended on that. Again, just phenomenal for this agency. Just a final note, just a reminder for your committee preference sheets to return those. And just a point of clarification, just so in case there's some confusion on that point, I don't want there to be. For the Economic Development District, you will not see that on the sheet of NERC committees. That's not technically a NERC committee. They're self-appointing essentially, but as Commissioner Allen had said, if you're interested in serving on that committee, then let me know and we will convey that on to that committee. I want to thank Michigan City for the presentation. It's exciting what's going on in that. I've been able to follow that and just thrilled with what's happening in that area. And also want to thank Craig for Michigan City for diving in and running our new Apple TV device through its paces. Those of you with Apple devices now have a means to be able to project your Apple devices directly on the screen. Commissioner Benson left, but thank you for the inspiration for moving it on that piece of equipment. And I believe that's all I have. Just a reminder, I know it's getting late. We'll try to be quick, but those of you who are new on the commission, if you're able to meet next door, we'll have a brief orientation for you to give you the background on what nursing is all about. So thank you.
Anything else, commissioners? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.